This is the basic single button, single joystick controller for the Atari 2600, but if you wanted to get a different kind of controller, there were many other options from third parties, manufactured by companies that were not Atari. Here's one called the POINTMASTER. The first thing that you notice about the POINTMASTER is that this thing is gigantic. Just look at that, that's a big joystick. And it has a button on top, not a button down here. So this is an interesting variation of the single button Atari controller. Now it's not perfect, in fact I actually prefer the original Atari controller to this one. Take a look at why. It may be called the POINTMASTER, but actually I find it fairly difficult to play with because it's so tall and has such a small base. By the way, this thing is manufactured by Discwasher, of all people. Now they tried to give you little rubber things so you could, in theory, balance it on a tabletop surface or something, but obviously once you try to move this, it topples over. So it's really not the greatest design when you think about it. So you hold it in your hand to play with this thing. They give you a nice button on top that your thumb fits into this groove here, and you can hammer away at the button. So you'd think this might be good for flying games where you get to shoot things, but that wobbling problem sort of prevented it from being a great controller in my opinion. Plus it has a pretty wide range of motion. You can see that thing really moves around. So you hold it in one hand like this and supposedly play it like that, and it really wasn't the most comfortable controller for the Atari 2600. You can see here that the size of the base of the POINTMASTER is very similar to that of the Atari 2600 standard controller. Now what's interesting to note is that the Atari controller has 4 rubber feet placed on the very outside of the controller, so you could push down on this thing and keep it locked into place, whereas the POINTMASTER has 4 rubber feet placed not at the very edges, or they're more centrally located, I should say. So it's, even if you hold this thing down, it's still moving around. It's certainly no NES advantage, I'll say that. Take a closer look here at the POINTMASTER. You can see the wide range of motion that you'd get with this controller, and the problem with that was it would just move right out of your hand. I forget where or when I got this controller, and it never got used very much because I just didn't like it that much. But it's interesting to look at all the peripherals for the Atari 2600, and since it was a very popular game system, there's a lot of third-party editions, controllers, add-ons, and accessories available for Atari that we'll be looking at here on Classic Game Room. If you like the flight stick and the POINTMASTER, my recommendation is to take this thing and drill it into your coffee table or use super glue, because aside from the base, it's actually not a bad controller. And you can be the master of points. You know what we should do? We should knit her a hat with all of that hair.